Full disclosure, the voice you are listening to now is artificially generated, brought to you by satisphonic.com. See the link in the description for more details. What claims are just not backed by the historical facts? Einstein being a low-level student, his grades were average to top tier of the class, and he was pretty damn good academically. Part of the reason this myth came about is that in Germany 1 is the best grade and 6 is the worst grade. In Switzerland, where he went to school, it is exactly the other way around and 6 is the best grade. I'm sick of curriculum materials teaching my 4th graders that the Spanish discovered Florida when they were looking for the Fountain of Youth. That lie was developed in the 1920s as a tourist gimmick. There's literally nothing in the historical record that supports it. Ponce de lying. Fallacies. Lie, aimé, half true. Ponce de Leon trying to find the Fountain of Youth is a myth, but it was first mentioned shortly after he died in the 1500s. This is usually attached to Florida, because it was the first place in the contiguous use that Ponce de Leon claimed discovered. The myth was a thing throughout the Age of Discovery. This was then repopularized in the 1900s to encourage people to visit Florida. Marilyn Monroe never said, "If you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best." There is literally no documented proof she ever said that. True, she actually said, "If you can't handle me at my diddliest, you don't deserve me at my doodliest." Boy, I sure hope someone got fired for that blunder. Stupid, sexy Flanders. Avoid girls that say this. One of my friends changed it to, "If you can't handle me at my worst, then buckle up, buttercup, because my best ain't that great." That binary numbers were first used by Leibniz. Most computer histories make this claim. But there's an existing manuscript page by the English mathematician Thomas Harriot that includes binary numbers and binary multiplication that was written around 1605, 40 years before Leibniz was born. Edit, spelling. That ancient people thought the earth was flat. We have records from around 435 CC where Greek philosophers spoke of the earth being a sphere. In 240 CE, the Greek astronomer Eratosthenes calculated the circumference of the earth and was only about 2% out. There are modern people who think the earth is flat and they can read. They can read not very well, though. Science. And as can be seen from the evidence, it is clear that the earth is flat claim is disproven flat earthers. See? Even science says that it is clear that the earth is flat. It's not like it was some big secret either. This was something that featured in literature somewhat frequently to show that an author was well read. Cicero, 1-50, 1 bis, mentions the earth as a sphere with belts of different climates corresponding to our own tropical temperate regions, and how people on the other side of the planet are upside down relative to us. Ovid describes the earth as a great ball in the beginning of the Metamorphoses, 8c. Same with during the Middle Ages. Dante, publishing in 1320, exits the inferno by climbing up Satan's taint through the Earth's center of gravity and out to the other side of the planet, so it's not like that knowledge was lost or replaced with flat Earth again. I irk people's issue with Columbus sailing to India by going west was that they thought he had underestimated and therefore underprovisioned, not that he would sail off the edge. The White Star Line saying the Titanic was unsinkable. It was actually a shipping magazine that first called the Olympic class unsinkable. In a similar note, the arms Britannic being called gigantic. The name gigantic only appears once on an order for an anchor. Every other piece of documentation refers to the Britannic as the Britannic. If North and South America wasn't between Europe and Asia, he certainly would have starved in the Pacific before making it. Executioner Shangman didn't wear hoods. People knew who they were. There are even several instances where the job gets passed from father to son like a family business. They were paid okay, but also made side money from selling stuff used for the execution, like bits of rope and fabric and stuff. Edit. There's a book called Lord High Executioner by Howard Engel that goes into the history of it, and it's fascinating. Catherine the Great did not do that with a horse. Vomitoria were passages designed to accommodate large crowds, not rooms for actual vomiting. Vomit comes from Latin for spew forth. The idea that medieval early modern people, especially peasants, were filthy, had poor hygiene, and never left their villages. Medieval people cleaned themselves and their clothes fairly regularly. They even cleaned their teeth by chewing split twigs. Also, it was fairly common even for peasants to travel to pilgrimage sites on holy days periods. Yes, I just commented this as a main comment, but they also did not drink beer because the water was dirty. People have known for thousands of years how to keep shit out of their water supply. It's like a cornerstone of civilization. Snobs during the Enlightenment decided to rewrite some things and create the whole Dark Ages mythology. Exactly. Also, you need clean-ish water to create beer anyway. In towns, certainly it was safer to drink the beer, but most of the population lived rurally anyway, so it didn't matter one way or another. The reason why so many people drank beer is that it's calorific and was easy to make at home, and every homestead did make their own beer. In other words, it provided cheap sustenance for long days of manual labor. Also, as they do now, people like getting drunk. Gotta say, as an history student, this guy here has it 100%. Pirates in the 1700s also consumed a lot of rum for calorific purposes at sea, and it's mainly why they were drunk so often. Alcohol has many calories in it, and the normal peasant who couldn't afford meat or other calorie-rich food had to eat bread, potatoes too. But imagine eating 1,000 calories of bread. It'd get tiresome, especially since they didn't have Nutella or good coating for their bread most of the time. The lack of Nutella contributed to the Bronze Age collapse. No so much a single historical fact, but people tend to fall for fallacies of nature and imply that we should go back to the way we did things naturally, but oftentimes this idea is extremely historically inaccurate. Many times the way we did things naturally resulted in a lot of, death. For example, giving birth naturally. Some people seem to think that before modern obstetrics, that we were all just a bunch of natural goddess giving birth in the forest. But the reality was a lot more grotesque than that. If everyone gave birth the way we did in 1900, we would be seeing a lot more childbirth-related death. We would also see a lot more women dealing with fistulas and being ostracized, same with vaccine. Letting nature take its course killed us, sometimes at alarming rates, like with smallpox. Oh, sure, they had natural immunity to a lot of things, just like we developed natural immunity to a lot of things, except some immunities are a lot of things, except some immunities are a lot safer to get natural. You don't just develop natural immunity to polio, you have to get polio and suffer the permanent natural consequences. But people have this idea that everyone used to walk around with better immune systems and they would drink elderberry. That ancient humans were dumb. What if it's being said on the basis that present-day humans are also dumb? Young Earth creationism is not the historically believed position of the early Christian church or the ancient church. It's a fairly recent theological position, initially purported by Seventh-day Adventists, but quickly became popular with fundamentalists due to backlash over evolution becoming mainstream. Before that, most people saw the creation narrative in Genesis as a narrative myth and was not meant to be read as scientific fact. That the pyramids were built by Jewish slaves. The Egyptians were good at record keeping, and none of their records say anything about slaves being used for the construction of the pyramid. That's what Big Pyramid wants you to believe. We've rebranded. We're Extreme Point Industries now. While the Old Testament does not say that the pyramids were built by the Jews. The Jews do not believe that the pyramids were built by the Jews. I have no idea where this bit of nonsense comes from. It's not in the Ten Commandments film either, even though the film took enormous liberties with the biblical account. Not to say that the biblical account is actual history either. They did. The comment referred to the Jews having built the pyramids, and I responded to that. Kindly do not accuse me of saying something I did not say. The biblical account refers to 2 grain storage cities. You may dispute the historical veracity of that or not, as you will. You may dispute the historical veracity of the book of Exodus, the Old Testament, or the entire Bible, or not, as you wish. But please do not say that I stated that the Jews did build the pyramids. I did not. Edison invented the light bulb. A more correct way to describe what Edison did was sponsor a lab and assemble a team that made light bulbs that were actually powerful and durable enough to be useful as a city lighting system. Oh, and also comes up with power delivery methods for the bulb. 100 years from now, people will say Steve Jobs invented the iPhone. Same energy. That every woman in the Middle Ages married at 12 or 13 and started having babies immediately. And they did not love and mourn their children as much as we do. That people in the Middle Ages thought the earth was flat. The Holocaust never happened. I am baffled how people can believe this. Calling the American Civil War the War of Northern Aggression. Bitch, you literally shot first. Edit. I'm from the South, and I've never heard this. The fuck you haven't. That there was massive fraud in the 2020 election. When you lose 60 times in a row in federal court and fail to produce any evidence, it's time to hang it up. Only legally proven election fraud was from Republicans. So in a way, they were correct, but telling on themselves.